Alright everybody, hello, this is Zax299, driving home from work, 2:20 in the morning. Had to work a little bit late, had a long call, and wanted to go ahead and just yap on my drive home here with you guys. And since it's nighttime, wanted to go ahead and talk about the scariest dream. Maybe have you guys anyway, have you guys share your most horrifying dream. Talk about it down in the comments below. Let me know what your scariest dream you ever had was. You know, was it a monster? Was it, you know, a bad guy, or somebody shooting you, or maybe it was a member of the opposite sex doing something really horrible to you. You know, maybe it was your in-laws. Those can be pretty scary sometimes. But anyway, let me know, you know, what dream, have you had a dream, first of all, that has left you in a cold sweat? Have you ever had a dream that has basically frightened the living hell out of you and had you just waking up, grasping at your sheets, grasping at air, you know, wondering where the hell you are, and thank God you're back at home in bed and not wherever you were in your dream? Now, I know a lot of people dream of falling off cliffs and stuff like that. The one thing I want to ask you guys, a really important question I want to ask you guys is, you know, I've heard a lot that you cannot dream that you die, that you always wake up in your dream before you die or see yourself die in your dream. And that used to be the case for me, you know, when I was younger. But lately, since I've been probably about 30, mid-30s or whatever, I know that I have dreamed several times of me actually dying, and I don't wake up. So, yeah, I dream like of the after effects of, you know, what happens after I die, and, you know, a dog sniffing my body and stuff. I mean, I see it all. Just little bits and pieces of what I remember anyway. But I've always been pretty good at remembering a lot of my dreams. Sometimes it won't come to me right when I wake up, but like later during the day, I'll remember bits and pieces of my dream. I used to be really good at it when I was younger. I remembered a lot more dreams then than I do now, as I'm, you know, in my 40s now. But what was your scariest dream ever? You know, that's really what I want to know. And have you ever dreamed that you actually died? Have you woke up right before you died? So I want to know how many of you guys actually are weird like me and actually dream and see yourself die in your dream. You know, I used to think that couldn't happen, but I know for a fact that I've died in my dreams many times now. Now, I remember going to college, and I remember taking philosophy, and I remember reading and you know, learning about like Sigmund Freud, and if you dreamed of bananas, you know, then, you know, I seriously think that guy was sick. You know, he was like perverted. Like everything in your dream, you know, whether it was, you know, like a penis shape, meant you had some sexual fantasy with your dad. You know, if you dreamed of melons or anything like that, you wanted to, you know, something sick and perverted with your mother. It always was related to your father or your mother, no matter what it was. It was always sexual, no matter what the hell you dreamt about, was like Sigmund Freud's philosophy. And I remember sitting there in college thinking this guy was a sick pervert, you know, knucklehead, especially for the time. You know, to be seeing that all these different things meant something sexual back in the year Sigmund Freud lived in the 1800s sometime. I think it was the 1800s. Hell, I don't know. But, you know, back then, you know, people think that everything's perverted nowadays. Can you imagine somebody talking about nothing but sex and everything in your dreams meant something sexual? And like incest-wise with your family, like Sigmund Freud did? I can't imagine that guy not being just laughed at and scoffed at back then. Now, especially, I don't believe any of that garbage. But let me know what you think of Sigmund Freud, if you know anything about him as well. That should be pretty interesting. A lot of different comments that you guys can leave on this one. You know, whether you're talking about Sigmund Freud and what he believed, if you know anything about him, or, you know, if you're talking about your most terrifying dream you've ever had, you know, was it as a kid or was it older as you were, you know, an adult or whatever. I think that as a kid, you know, I dreamed a lot more of like monsters and stuff that really couldn't happen, make-believe stuff. There was really, a lot of it was really terrifying. But then when you get older, you know, I have my kids and stuff like that. My worst nightmares are either, you know, some bad memory that I have of losing somebody close, or, you know, they're a horrifying, you know, worry or fear or something like that of my kids. You know, so I think my scariest dream ever that put me in the biggest cold sweat and had me basically crying too because I was so scared was before I had my son. Now my son is 9 years old now, and my wife and I lived in a really small house at the time that she was pregnant. And you know, she was 5-6 months along, and we were buying things to get ready for our son being born. And we bought a crib, you know, and we had a queen size bed, and our bedroom was really small. So we set this baby crib up right next to our bed, and it was a really tight fit between the bed and the wall for that crib. And that crib, we went ahead and set it up, you know, 2-3 months before our baby was even born. I don't know why. And anyway, it became a catch 40, you know, it became a catch-all. That crib became a catch-all for all kinds of books and pens and papers and everything else in that small house. And so what happened is, before my son was even born, I think we knew he was going to be a boy, but probably a month or two before he was born, I had the scariest damn dream that felt so freaking real. And I had dreamt that I woke up, that our son, in my dream, it felt really real, you know, and our son had already been born. And of course I loved him to pieces and everything like that in my dream. And in my dream, our son was in the crib all by himself, you know, and I don't know how old he was, 2-3 months old or something, in my dream. And in my dream, I woke up in my bed. And the reason I woke up is because I heard my son screaming, like crying, just wailing, like, ah! You know, just crying like a baby wails when they're, you know, hurt or something like that. And it was pitch dark, like the middle of the night. And, I mean, I couldn't see anything. All I could hear was him screaming on the other side of the bed, because he was over by my wife. On my wife's side, that's where the crib was. And so, I couldn't see anything, so I had to get up out of bed, and I stumbled across the floor, and there were some kind of sharp objects on the floor. I still remember that. And I finally found, it seemed like forever, even though it was a really small room in real life. In my dream, I had to traverse, like, you know, for 30 minutes or something like that, and my kid just screaming and crying his eyes out, and I don't know what's wrong with him. And I finally go to turn that light switch on, and of course it doesn't turn on, and it's just dark as hell. And immediately when the light switch wouldn't turn on, you know, I felt just a chill, like a horror, and the room got colder. And I remembered a lighter that I had, and I was trying to find this lighter, and I was fumbling around in the cabinets and the shelves and stuff like that, and the drawers, trying to find this lighter. And it wouldn't light, but I was trying to light it by my son's face, because he was screaming in just like pain or something. And I was just sitting there flicking the lighter, getting little flicks of light, you know. And finally, I could see something. I could see my son standing up in his crib, or sitting up or whatever in his crib, but I couldn't see anything. I could just hear him continuing to wail and scream. Finally, I got the lighter to light for a second, and what I saw in my dream just horrified the living hell out of me, because what I dreamt is my son had taken like one of those big pins, a writing pin that was laying in the crib, because we had that crap all the time because it was catch-all. Well, I guess we had left a pin in his crib, and he had grabbed it while he was sleeping, I guess, or playing or whatever, and he had jabbed it into his eye. And when I turned the lighter on and I got a flame, I saw the flickering light on his face, and there was just tons of blood just coming out of his eye, all down his face, and his eye was gouged out, this pin was stuck in his eye. And I don't know why that scared me so much, but that just sent like chill bumps down my leg, because, whatever in the dream, I don't know what it was, but something just made it really, really spooky. And I just remember the air was really cold, and, it was just freaky seeing my baby boy's face just covered in blood, his eye sticking out, his pin jabbed through his eye and stuff like that. I mean, it scared the crap out of me. But that's probably the dream that scared me the most. I've had a lot of them, about my kids and different things. And growing up as a kid, I had all kinds of just scary dreams about, monsters and skeletons with swords and all kinds of crazy stuff. Most of them were pretty bloody too. As a kid, I'd dream of, skeletons walking in my house. This is back in the 80s, before all these special effects and everything of video games and movies and stuff have nowadays. I dreamed some pretty horrific graphic stuff back in the 80s about like skeletons dripping with blood. I know one time came in our house, and it was the middle of the night, and I woke up and I was running from this big skeleton that was dripping with blood, and it was coming after me with like this big machete, and I couldn't seem to get out of the house. I don't know if the doors were locked or whatever. I just remember running and not being able to get out anywhere. And I remember running for my parents and, Mom, Dad! And I remember finally I kept tripping over their bodies. Like I tripped over my dad's dead, hacked up body, because they had already killed my parents or whatever, and my dad's head rolls up next to me when I fall to the ground or whatever. I mean, just really, really horrifying stuff for, a kid. I was probably 10, 11 years old or something like that when I had these dreams, and I don't know what caused me to have such horrifying nightmares all the time, but I bet you throughout my life I've had a hell of a lot more nightmares, it seems like I have anyway, than I have really good dreams. Maybe I just remember the nightmares more because they make more of an impression or something than the good dreams. I don't know. But like, I don't remember, like everybody talks about, like, oh man, you had a wet dream. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think I really remember any really good dreams like that. Usually the dreams that I remember are the scary ones, the nightmares. Those are the ones that get me. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys scariest dream was ever. Was it something like about your kid, or a fear about your kid, or somebody in your family, kind of like mine? Or maybe it's, maybe you dream that you get old and die, or that you fall off a cliff, or, maybe you have dreams that your spouse is cheating on you, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or, whatever it is. Let me know what your scariest, most haunting nightmare ever in your whole life was that you can remember. And also let me know if you ever dreamed of dying. Have you actually dreamed of seeing yourself dead in your dream? And what do you think dreams mean? Do you think they mean anything at all? I personally don't. I don't really think dreams mean anything. I think they're just a bunch of random crap. I don't think you could see like the answer to, like, you're looking for a key all day and you dream about it in a certain spot or whatever. Well, if that happens, I think that's just a coincidence, or it's because you were thinking about it or something. I don't think it's some, psychic crap. But anyway, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching. Be sure you leave your comments down below. Be sure you rate this video. Drive home from work. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.